Good evening, everybody. Welcome, Tom Kelenic. I appreciate your being here. I'm excited about our topic tonight, forming a new baseball team, building a new ballpark, all the stuff that goes into that. To me, would be, it's just, I'm a business guy, so this is the business side of the game of baseball. So this interests me a great deal. So I really appreciate your coming on.
No problem. Appreciate being here.
Yeah, and so Tom, I have you listed as the principal owner. Are you the managing partner? What would you call yourself on that?
Yeah, I'm a managing partner.
Yeah, and I know on your ownership, you also have Sal and Sonny Bono. So
Bando, yep.
Yeah. So I guess if you have a question about baseball team or something, you could probably ask Sal a question. He might be able to answer a question or two, although he hasn't been in the minor leagues for quite a while.
Yeah.
And so before we get started, I always have a standard icebreaker question. And I always find this question interesting, but for someone who's starting a ball club, I think this will be even more interesting somehow in my mind. What is your earliest memory of baseball?
Probably 12 years old, I would think. I just turned 50 in May. And so I think at 12 years old, I distinctly remember, both grandparents being at a baseball game, my parents being at a game. I do have one sibling, a younger brother. God only knows what he was doing. He's 5 years younger than I am, so he was probably in the bushes or picking up dirt or whatever they did at that age. Yeah, I think it was around 12 years old.
Okay. I'm one of those who strongly believes that your baseball, but probably any sport, but your baseball life is at 12. It's you become excited about it, and that's where the love for the game goes. I know for me that's where it was, and so there are times I still believe I'm 12 years old, and my wife probably would accuse me of that as well. So, who was your favorite player back then?
I think to get to your point, I think I was a fan of the game.
Yeah.
I think from a family income perspective, we weren't fortunate enough to go to, 20 games a year with the Brewers. We would probably go to 3 or 4. I remember the Mark Brohards, and I remember Avi Gorman Thomas lives down the road from us. I see him all the time. Jim Gantner does camps for kids at one of our parks, so I see him all the time. Obviously, I see Sal all the time. I see Robin Yount every once in a while because he's also tied to a summer collegiate team up in the North Shore. So yeah, I was just a fan of the game, and it's a lot different today than it was then, right? I mean, I still coach today at a very high level, and kids that are 16 years old, and I catch them just looking at the highlights. We all know the ball's going to go over the fence, and we all know the guy's going to pitch a no-hitter if that's the highlight, but, they never look at the pitch selection. They never look at the way it was set up. And I think some of the technology is it's helped the game, no question, because it's going more analytical at the big league level. But for the kids, they're missing a big opportunity by just looking at the highlights and their end result.
Yeah, I always feel that we hear that with baseball now, it's the 3 results, home run, strikeout, base on balls. And what do the highlight films show when you're watching ESPN? Home runs and strikeouts. And so they're not doing anything to promote, hey, how about doubles? How about triples? How about that double play, that 5-4-3 around the horn double play? They the 6-4-3 they'll show, but there's more to the game. But that they seem to show that too, and that's what fans, as you're saying, the younger fans are probably getting into.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
and I miss personally the speed and the sacrificing and things like that the analytics, because I got my degree in operations research and quantitative analysis. So that's what I did for 35, 40 years. That's what the analysis shows. So it's unfortunate, but it's a boring damn game too.
It can be. It's still, I've always said there's no such thing as a bad baseball stadium and no such thing as a bad ball game, but there can be better. So,
Sure.
yeah, I agree with you there. Before we get started on the questions about your baseball team and some of the other things you've done, I would be remiss if I didn't ask about your son, Jared. I think most of you probably know that his son, Jared, is the highest drafted ball player from the state of Wisconsin ever. He made his debut with the Mariners earlier this year, and the president of the firm put some definite controversy into everything associated with that, which is unfortunate for Jared. He wanted to play baseball, but he made that debut, and I can't imagine as a parent, because it'll never happen to me, what it's like to see your son at the. Well, I guess to start out with, how did your son tell you he made the major? It was being promoted.
Yeah, it was, with multiple kids, my wife and I are a lot of times caught going one way and one go the other way.
Yeah.
And when he called, it was, I could tell in his voice, and I didn't want to hear it alone. And I said, before it even got 3 words out of his mouth, I said, stop. And he's like, what? I mean, I'm all excited. And I said, put your mom on a conference call. And he's like, well, how'd you know? And I said, well, I could tell in your voice. And so I think my wife was, I believe, on her way to Minneapolis to see our daughter. And I was doing what I do every day. I was in the truck. And so he told us. And, I think we knew maybe 3-4 days before the public knew. And so it was good. I mean, everything happens for a reason, and no different than when he got sent back down. He had some success, but some things had to be tuned up, and I think that ultimately that's what he's been doing here for the last couple of weeks, and I would bet that you'll see him in the near future back in the big leagues.
I've got a friend in my fantasy league that sure hopes so. I looked today. He's hitting around 320. OPS is over 1,000. I think close to like maybe 1,100. So yeah, he's doing well. So
yeah,
that's good to see.
Thank you.
So, Dad, you got to go to watch your son play his first major league ball game, which is exciting in itself. Although he ran into a buzzsaw called Plesac and going into 8th inning with a no-hitter. That's kind of a tough game to debut on. But what was it like saying the debut, and then the next day was really the big game? How was that for you as the dad, and Lisa, his mom, to watch that?
Yeah, I think there's been some pictures taken of us being really emotional, and people think that the emotional part was the day that he hit the home run and was 3 for 4, but it was the first game. And it's what I think every parent, whether it's professional baseball or if it's working for the post office or being a veterinarian or whatever, you strive as a parent to hope that your kids have that drive and success that they're looking for. And he got there. It might be a little different than a lot of other jobs because you got to stay there, right? The mission or the challenge isn't done. So it was emotional the first day to be there. But the unfortunate thing is with the whole COVID thing. When you think maybe when he was playing for Team USA and you thought ahead of, what could that look like when he makes his debut? And fans always is the number one thing. You never picture who he's going to hit against or even where he's going to play, because as an amateur, you have no idea. But you envision all these people hoping it's a home game, screaming for your kid. And, Jared's been had a short time in the minor leagues since amateur baseball. A lot of those parks, they don't fill. They're bigger parks. There may be 8 to 10,000 fans that they have seats for, but theoretically there might be 15, 1,800, and it kind of looks empty at times. So when we went there, I think they were restricted to less than 10,000. And when you put, say, 8,500 people in a 50, 60,000 seat stadium, it's like, well, where is everybody? So, it took a little bit away. I won't, I'm not going to lie about it. I think it did for him as well. But I think at the same time, it made him feel easy. I think that's, ultimately it was getting that out of the way that first game, and then he was able to buckle down a little bit. There wasn't, again, a lot of people, not a lot of pressure, and to see him succeed was fantastic.
Yeah, you were there to see his first home run in the in the bigs.
Yeah. It was good.
Yeah, we did a Zoom meeting with a few of the Wisconsin kids who made their debut last year, and they were saying that debuting in the major leagues was exciting, but nobody in the ballpark was just kind of strange. It's not when anyone, like you said, you didn't dream of having a small crowd. They didn't dream of doing that in front of anybody else. So they noted that was a little different. So
sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
How was his mom doing with it? There's a mom thing there too.
Well, she's probably tougher mentally than I am. I'm more result driven, and and I think what we've all instilled, we have a very talented younger son too, who just finished his sophomore year of high school, and so he's got scholarship offers, and pro guys are looking at him already and whatnot. But I think we just try to simplify it as parents, especially in a game that's this hard, and you can only control what you can control, right? We travel around the country, even at the youth level. We may play a really bad team, and we didn't make that schedule. At the same time, we may play against the top pitcher in the country. That's just the way the cards lay, and you have to perform. And I think that's what, if anything, at least the last couple of years in particular with Jared, when he got to those higher levels, is just try to control his mindset, and just, let's just control what you could control. So,
that's, we always know some mantras in life, and I think that definitely should be one if it isn't, because it's so true. How often do we try to do other things? Before we talk about the ball club, 10 years or so ago, you decided to build a ballpark, and then you started doing some academy stuff. Why did you decide to build a ballpark?
Well, it was my daughter. She played Division II softball up at Minnesota State Moorhead, and so when she was in her youth level, she was playing for a local team, and we would have to drive about 35 miles to play. And I knew nothing about softball. I don't have a sister, never really watched it. We signed her up. I would practice with her. She would be either coach or team. And so season came around, and we're driving 35 miles to a ballpark when there's all kinds of ballparks around here. But what I didn't know is that girls in this area, they play all double headers. So if you play double headers in the summer, you got to have lights, and there really wasn't any parks in the area that had lights. So when we got there, she was playing a team from our community. So that team also drove 35 miles. The parents obviously came home from work. None of them ate. And we've all been down this path where, you jump in the car, you drive 35 miles, you're out of gas, kids didn't eat, you're hurrying up to the game, you play the 2 games, you come home and it's 11 o'clock at night, and it's just, it's not a good experience. So I had said on the way home to my wife, I said, maybe we should think about doing this. We live on the outskirts of Waukesha, which is a fairly large community, and there's a lot of boys and girls, whatnot. And so, I came up with this idea, which at the time, everybody played at either a school or a municipal park. There really wasn't any private parks, so to speak. So we did some creative buying of some property, and we subdivided, I think roughly 20 acres of the 70 acres into some single family lots that people could build on. And then we built a 10 diamond facility, which there's 2 full-size fields with lights, and then there was would be 8 smaller fields which handled boys 12 and under and girls all the way through high school. So that's kind of how that idea came to fruition.
Were you coaching back then also?
You know, I'm a guy that if you don't know enough, stay away and let the people know what they're doing. I knew baseball, and I think I was upfront that softball is different than baseball, just in their tactics and their style. So I helped fund some of the travel teams that she was on, but we put some pretty good coaches in place to help those girls.
Yeah. Mary, I'm guessing you like hearing that because, you know, you are a very strong believer in women's baseball and have said the 2 games aren't the same. So having a man reinforce that probably is putting a smile on your face. So, yeah. Anybody have any questions? I jumped off of his son. Anybody have a question regarding Jared at all? Since, you know. Okay, so continuing on. So you built the diamonds, and now you've got an academy out, I think, out there as well, and some training facilities that you're involved in. How did all of that happen?
So at the time, Next Level is a organization that does training from ages 12, boys and girls, all the way up to the pro level. And he was the owner of the company. Brad Arnett was in a strip mall in Pewaukee, 8-foot ceilings. He was doing what he could. And so I went to him and I said, listen, why don't we think about taking this to the next level and putting up a facility that you could not only train who he does, JJ Watt, TJ Watt, Derek Watt, but say a volleyball player from Penn State, because you can't really hit a volleyball when you got 8-foot ceilings. Right. So we were fortunate enough to put up a 50,000 square foot training center about 5 years ago. That facility has 16 powerlifting stations. It has a football field about 80 yards long, 40 yards wide. We have a NBA sized basketball court. And then I think there's about 8 or 9 batting cages in that facility and 2 pitching tunnels. And really what it does now is you can go in there, especially when the kids are out of school, and there'll be 400 kids that go through there on an average day. Again,
average day?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And again, we have my younger one, like I said, who's 16, he works out a couple days a week, and he works out right next to JJ. He was there today. And what that does for the development of these kids, you have no idea. Again, you get back to the electronics of the world and how they blow these guys up to be these superhuman people. When they work out next to them, they realize that they drink the same way they do. They tie their shoes the same way they do. And it really puts things into perspective of that player, that person is just a man or just a woman. And maybe I want to be like that. They don't show that on the highlights and TV. Some stuff's really good on TV and some stuff's really bad. But, getting back to this facility, we have girls from Penn State who I know are nationally ranked every year in volleyball that train there. We have MMA fighters, very violent sport, that train there. If you were to go there, because I don't think OTAs, they don't start for another week or 2, but there's probably anywhere from 20 to 30 NFL guys that would be training there, up until OTAs. And then it just flips.
And they're not just Packers, they're from all over the country.
No, they're from all over.
Yeah, wow.
And then come winter now, we'll get all the MLB guys. In another couple weeks, we'll get some NHL guys that'll fly in for a week, stay at a local hotel, try to get the best training that they can, and then take some of that they learn and go back to maybe their YMCA or their high school. And then they'll come back in a month and do it again. And that kind of fits their schedule.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the gentleman you worked with on that, obviously with the 50,000 square foot facilities, he's had to add a lot of trainers and all. Is the talent in Wisconsin to find the people to do that?
Yeah, I think with Brad, arguably he's one of the best trainers maybe in the country, for sure in the Midwest. His name's Brad Arnett. He's got some experience. He was at I want to say University of Arizona. Did a little work in Minnesota at the university. Played football actually for Whitewater. But yeah, I think his style is he instructs his trainers from day one. We have maybe a half a dozen interns that are there throughout the year, and some of those get retained. But he does a good job in educating his own trainers of the performance that he wants to put forth.
That would be interesting in itself to watch, just how he trains the trainers, so to speak, I guess. So.
Well, and what's interesting as well is in the off season, because I usually travel a lot during the summer because I still coach, but when it slows down for me in the late fall, into the winter and into the spring, I too go there every single morning, and I'll see how he trains a high school, whether it's a boy or girl, and then how he trains a college person, and then how he trains, let's just use JJ Watt. JJ Watt is trained, theoretically he's not going to get much bigger and he's not going to get much stronger. So it's really trying to prevent any injury, get him to his peak, and now do some retention from the perspective that he doesn't get hurt. And if he does get hurt, it's a minimal thing, so he probably pushes those high school kids harder than he does the college and the pro guys, because I think mentally he has to. I think the college and the pro guys expect to be pushed to a certain degree.
Interesting. That's I know that some of the conversations we've had, you mentioned, between his facilities there and was it Racine where the hitting cages are and all that. There's some, there's very good opportunities for Wisconsin ball players, and we've been turning some out. We had 4 debuts last year. Lux was the year before, and a good share of these players who've gone through Wisconsin who made it to the majors. So yeah,
I mean, you got Ben Rorved, who's been up and down with the Twins.
Yeah.
And there's a lot. I say this all the time. I graduated from high school in 1989, and there was two kids that got scholarships. One, I don't remember his name, but the other one was Joe Randa, who him and I are friends to this day from Kettle Moraine High School.
Okay.
Played Kansas City and Cincinnati and Detroit. But there was 2 of them in 89, and I think last year there was 68 kids in the state of Wisconsin that got scholarship money in baseball. I mean, it's just crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because we're the great cold north where, there was some reluctance for signing some of these players because of the level of competition. So it says a lot about our level of competition. That's neat to hear.
Well, and I'll tell you again, coaching these boys now, like I said, they're going to be juniors in high school. We compete against teams from all over, Georgia, Florida, Texas. And you can see it to take nothing away from those athletes, but if you brought those athletes up here to train in the winter the way our boys do up here, they probably would be like, I'm going to find another sport, because they're just not accustomed. They can always go outside, right? And the weather's always nice. And if they have a trainer, they're probably doing a lot of work out on the track or whatnot because it's good weather. But to say go to school, I remember when Jared he committed to the University of Louisville. I believe his sophomore year of high school, and he wanted to graduate early. He wanted to graduate December, instead of May. So he was able to do that. And we had a plan that said, listen, we already, worst case scenario, you're going to Louisville, which is a great program. Maybe we should really think about getting ready for the draft. And so he would wake up, up here. Some of you guys are from here. There's another one from Minnesota, but it could be 20, 25 below zero, could be 0, who knows? But he would get up at 5:30 in the morning and go work out every morning. And then from there he would go hit, and it was a daily routine that he did for 6 months. And I play against a lot of these kids from the South. I don't think they would do that.
Yeah. Well, and as a dad, just say, if you put the work in, it pays off. And we should all just use you as the example, because, not all our kids have quite accomplished as much there. So that's amazing. Any questions on training or anything here for Tom? Anybody? Okay. Tom, let's talk about owning a baseball team. I guess the first thing, when I heard that this team was coming there, and I was wondering who the ownership was, and I got to talk to you, the first thing that popped in my mind is, so how long have you wanted to own a baseball team?
Yeah, I think, when we first started thinking about it was about 4.5 years ago, believe it or not. And what we learned, and I did do some learning when I built the youth park, because believe it or not, there's many people that don't want that in their backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And there's municipality leaders that don't want it either. So, we had a little bit of hiccup, I would say, with the youth park, but the bigger ballpark, I think we hit 4 municipalities. And again, what people don't understand is when you take something like this to the board, you have to have sound studies, you have to have water studies, light studies, traffic studies. In a project like this, ballpark, you're looking at $300,000 to $400,000 before you even know if the people who are going to vote on it are even lukewarm to it. So, every time you bounce around, it's like, buckle up, because it's going to be more money and more money and more money, So that 4-year process was difficult, no question. We personally were in the meetings, and the media would portray it the way they want to portray it. And then you still have a lot of your friends and neighbors and colleagues that are saying, don't give up. But at the end of the day, they're not writing the check for it. So it was difficult. And finally, where we're at, the mayor at the time, I believe it was last November. It was the last November. He called and said, listen, you bring it to our community, we'll get it approved before I leave in April. I believe, no, it was a year ago, because then we had COVID. And so we did that. We were fortunate enough that the last stop we were at, the community was pretty close to this one. So he allowed us to use some of those studies for the approval process. And he really, really was a baseball fanatic and wanted it. And there wasn't anything that was going to stop him. And thankful to him, he got it done before he left office. And, now we're building it.
I agree with you. Thankfully, it's interesting. As a baseball nerd, I'm thinking, what do you mean you don't want a baseball park in your neighborhood? But, there's noise and costs, and, I guess that would be things people think about. I think about, there's noise in baseball, but yeah. So I'd be one of those people behind you, Tom, saying, just keep writing checks. So,
Yeah. That's easy to do, for sure.
Yeah. It's easy for me to tell others to spend their money too. I learned that a long time ago. So I agree.
If I may, quick question. How many different places or municipalities did you end up having to go to before you had success?
The first one that we went to, we didn't even get far enough into it to spend much money. When I say that, it was probably less than 100,000. And then we did Pewaukee, Summit, and then ended up in Oconomowoc. So 4 total.
Interesting.
That's
So then
not-
when you,
That's
so when
not
you-
too bad
yeah, go-
compared to some places.
What's
Yeah.
that?
That's not too bad compared to some places.
Yeah, well, we laugh that, if you look at 2 of them were 400,000 and one was 100,000, you paid $500,000 to get nowhere.
Just get your, foot in the door and get nowhere.
Right.
that's a story that people should probably know, that when people are trying to bring some kind of economic development to your area and stuff, they're spending money to do so. And that's very true. That's wow, that's a lot of money.
That's what I was thinking, because the team I worked with was a single A ball team, and we leased a city baseball park. So I mean, that was really, really easy.
Mhm. Did the Muskies start at Breeze Stevens before they moved to
They
Warner
were
Park?
waiting, they waited for for some work to finish being up and made up to code, because the old Warner Park, to be quite honest, was a piece of garbage. We played there in high school. It was a high school field, and they just needed to do some upgrades to it. But then it was the same way with the current independent league team, because I helped them out a little bit in the beginning. And it was, hey, we've got a team. Are you guys interested in a team here? And we'll play at Warner Park, and boom. So, I mean, that was really easy because everything was already in place.
I've got a book sitting on my bookshelf here. I helped a writer he was writing a book on the 1935 Tokyo Giants, and I was living in Madison at the time, and he sent me an email. It's always intimidating when someone from a foreign country's got better English than you do. I just write, oh my God, I wish my English was as good as his. And he asked me for some basic information on it. And the Japanese culture is such that everyone who helped him on that got a book. And most of it's in Japanese. About the only thing that isn't is where he talks about who helped him in America. And that's in English. So I think it's a great book, but but he wanted to know about Breeze Stevens. So that's where I knew a little about that ballpark. So, but
Yeah, you had the like about 150-foot right field, and you had about a 600-foot left field.
Yeah.
It was an old football park. It's perfect for what they use it for now, which is a professional soccer team.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. So then when you're going to build you want a baseball team, you have to find a place to put it. Now you have to figure out what league you're going to put it in. So you ended up with the American Association. I think you also looked at the Northwoods League. And then, so why the American Association? And probably a follow-up question on that would also be, gee, with everything that Major League Baseball did to the minor leagues last year, were you scratching your head thinking, oh my God, what does this mean?
Good questions, thought of all of them. With my connections through Jared's recruiting process over the years, I got to know pretty much all the Big Ten coaches, ACC, SEC, Ohio Belt region. And when I thought of this idea, I'm like, it would be very easy to get players once these coaches know that I'm building a brand new facility in a great area that I think kids would enjoy with the lakes and whatnot. Then COVID hit as we're trying to get this approved. And when you look at the investment that we're going to have to make, in particular, the Northwoods League has 72 games a season, which 36 are at home. And the American Association has 100 games, which 50 are at home. So, common sense tells you that there's, more games, more revenue, which was important. But our model, quite frankly, of it being privately funded really doesn't work in the Northwoods League. I think kind of what Randall was talking about is, the simplicity of having a stadium, whether you're renting it from a municipality or you're renting it from a college. I think in today's day, that number is, $250,000 to $300,000 to play your games, and then you're limited to those games, no additional events or for revenue. So, I think our project all in is roughly going to be about $20 million. You have to generate as much revenue as you can, and us having full control over it from day one and 365 days a year only made sense. So the COVID really helped us sit back and go, what is going to be the best strategic way for us to be successful? And I think it was crystal clear which one it was going to be.
I think it's exciting just to have another minor league team in the state. So then you did, when going to the American Association, what was their process like? I hope it wasn't another 500,000 in all these studies, but what were they looking for criteria for a new ballpark or new ball club in their league?
Well, Josh, the commissioner of the league, was at our groundbreaking last week, and he assured the public that we've been brutally ripped apart to the point where that he's going to go to bed at night knowing that we're going to be successful. And, I think it's a mix of a lot of things. Financially is obviously a huge part of it. But I guess compassion for the game, the will to win, the location was extremely important to the league, not only as how that area is from lakes and the enjoyment of people, but it really fit within the traveling of the league, which, again, we're seeing minor league teams like Jared, for instance, that's in AAA. He's going to a city and playing the team 6 games in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, Dad, by the time we're done, I'm almost best friends with the team that we're playing against. Because traditionally it's a 3 or 4 game series and you're out the door. So, yeah. I don't want to say it was really, really difficult, but we've never done it before, right? So there was always that sense of, are we doing it right? Do we need more? Whether it was money, whether it was information, it's definitely a learning process, and they were patient enough with us to understand that. And so far, knock on wood, it's been pretty good.
It's good. So you're in the league, and now you have to build a ballpark. I'm going to go back to the team because there's things now putting the team together. But now that you got a league, you got to find a place to play. You got that, but now you got to build that ballpark. What has that process been like? Now, you architects and all that sort of thing. Tell us a little about just getting that process started.
Well, again, I was fortunate enough to travel around the country, not only to coach my sons, but watch Jared play. And believe me, I had hundreds, if not thousands, of pictures that I took from all the different ballparks, whether it was the lighting, whether it was the turf. We took videos of all the games that were being played between innings that entertained the fans. I think over the course of 4 years, we did our homework. So, that's a big part, I think, to the success that we'll have. And the ballpark really then is a collage of pictures mixing COVID. I think our ballpark is unique. If no one has seen it, you can obviously see it on our website and whatnot, but there's a lot of tables and chairs. I believe there's about 2,200 fixed seats, and there's about 1,100 seats that would be around a table. We have 6 different suites as well, along with, we're coming up with some, we're still, it's in the making, but you know, this is it's Lake Country. And we have a lake that they do a tie up, which is a unique party situation where the boats all go out, whether you know the people or not, you tie your boat up to theirs and you just spend the day, and before you know it, there's 300 boats all tied together and everybody's walking through a mall. So I think we're going to create our own little tie-up area, whether it's a deck with pontoon boat features, and have it kind of roped off, you know, each area. And I think when it's all said and done, there's going to be about 3,500 to 3,700 people would be capacity.
Did you find, you know, visiting all these ballparks, did you find some things you didn't like or don't want?
No, I think we always looked at it as that's really unique, or that's
Okay.
cool, or I like that color. Yeah, I don't think there was much where because again, a lot of it is the same, right? I mean, it's the field, it's the turf, it's the maybe the location of the scoreboard was an area I didn't want it to be or wouldn't want it to be.
Okay.
The height of the batter's eye. You know, why is it only 10 feet above the home run fence? I mean, traditionally it's 30 feet, right? Even when I developed my youth park, if you guys have kids or grandkids and can remember, at the youth level, you know, the kids couldn't throw strikes, right? And so it'd be 4-pitch walk, and then the next pitch would be to the fence, and then the kid would go to second, and then the next pitch he would go to third, right? So even our youth park, he said, you know what, we're going to make the backstop 10 feet from home plate. And we're going to make sure that the catcher, whoever this is going to have an opportunity to throw that kid out. And I think it's helped. It speeds up the game for sure. And some of those characteristics, I think it's from home plate to our backstop at the new stadium is 45 feet, which probably is a little short. But you know, they have the same problems at times in the big leagues. They throw the ball to the backstop. So I think it's just small characteristics is all.
Interesting. Architect wise, were there architects who do this sort of thing, or did you find someone and give them your vision?
The same fella that has done all my work he's doing this one. He did this one as well. You know, I think it's important that you understand each other and how you work. And he was able to put up with me. At times I get demanding, and I can tell you, from this project in particular, because of COVID and the escalated prices of everything, steel is next to impossible to get. We were fortunate enough to find structural steel anywhere from bits and pieces from Indianapolis, North Carolina, and Michigan. And so the only thing that we really didn't have ordered with a delivery date up till about 3-4 weeks ago was our roof deck, which obviously covers the roof, and all your heating and air conditioning units and whatnot are up there. And fortunate or unfortunate, we had to order it from China because you can't get it in this country. And so, you know, with that, you know, we're obviously crossing our fingers when you talk about tariffs and you talk about it coming across on time, then that getting picked up at the yard and having it shipped to Oconomowoc. We were promised a 45 to 55 day window. And theoretically, we really don't need it until probably October, but it would sure be nice to have it on site and know you got it.
Yeah.
So,
When no one likes surprises when you're building something, you really don't need surprises. So,
no.
So I can understand that. So you had your groundbreaking, which is always fun.
Yeah, I believe I believe everybody can watch it if it's on social media. So,
okay. Make a note here to find the groundbreaking so I can add it to the recording. Okay, is good. Anything else about building a baseball park that you find interesting or think we should know?
be patient. It's we started, I think, about a month ago, even though the groundbreaking was last week. The process, if no one's been in construction, they strip all the topsoil and get to the subgrade. That's all done. And then what they do is they'll dig the ponds and they'll dig the footings. And if you need the elevation height to come up based on the drawings, those drawings are based on your sheet flow of water and whatnot. So the pond, we were short a little on the structural fill. So we had to build the ponds like 2 to 3 feet deeper, which generated that material for us to balance our site. The storm sewers are all in. The water and sewer from the city is to where the building and the stadium's going to sit. And when I left there today, they had the second dugout done. They pour the foundation and the footings, the backstop. And then I think they're going to jump over to the building. And I would anticipate by the end of the month, all the footings and all of the concrete, with the exception of sidewalks, will be completed. I know the light pole bases are being delivered next week. I talked to our turf company. The turf's being delivered the 1st of October. So we're hopeful that the field will be done, the stadium will be done, and we'll have a roof on the shell of the building before the snow flies, which would allow us then to complete the inside of the building by the 15th of April.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, since you build other things, you probably have learned to be patient, and so that helps. Being a first-time builder would drive you a little nuts, I think.
Sure.
Yeah. I've only built a credit union once, and I learned an awful lot about the one time how I'd like to do things again, and never had the opportunity, and I don't mind. I'm fine with that. So now we're coming to a team, and there's all kinds of decisions that we, the fans, would notice. You're talking about building a ballpark, and the roof deck. Yeah, it's got a roof. Everybody has a roof. You don't even think about that sort of thing. But we think about, gee, you've got to name the team, and you have a general manager, and you're going to hire a field manager, and all of those sort of things. When do some of those decisions come up? I know you've got your general manager. You've got someone who's responsible for the game day activities. I think you got a more exciting name than I just gave it, but so that's going to be the person who's basically taking care of all the things going on between innings and the fan experience with the concessions and everything like that.
Yep.
Tell us about how you're making those decisions, and where did the name for the team come from?
So again, getting back to the Lake Country area, interesting fact is we put the contest on our website, and I believe it lasted about 2.5 weeks, and we got almost 3,000 names that came in of how the people wanted this team to be named. And there's no question there was some really, really good ones, but what people don't understand is with the legalities of using the right name, probably 2,700 of them I would have been in court already, or with a cease and desist order or whatnot. So we had an outpouring of support from the community.
Yeah.
And I think the father-son who came up with this name was up out of Horicon, Wisconsin. So it really wasn't from, say, Oconomowoc or Waukesha. And it's probably about an hour north, something like that. So, we came up with the name and went with it. And I think it was mixed review on social media prior to us coming up with the logo. We couldn't quite understand maybe what a DockHound was. And again, when you're on these lakes, it just seems like every time you go past a pier, there's a dog sitting there with a ball in his mouth, waiting for someone to throw it out into the water.
Mhm.
And that's the lifestyle that's out that way. So then, it took, we hired a professional logo maker, believe it or not, and they came up with different illustrations, and that too you can see on our Facebook page, Lake Country DockHounds, and how they designed it in I think it's like a 45-second video. It's pretty intriguing, creative, and I never obviously played for North Carolina, but the Carolina blue always had a soft spot in my heart and how those uniforms looked, and I felt that's something that I wanted to have here in Oconomowoc. And so with the water and the logo and I think it took that person about 2 weeks to put that logo together.
A nice logo. I didn't look at the video yet. I saw it was out there. I can add that to the, sorry, I had to plug in my laptop before it dies. That would probably not be good if my laptop died and I disappeared, or maybe a better podcast that way, who knows? But, so, I would say someone who's going into a new community with the ball club to have 3,000 people submit names is, that's exciting. There's a groundswell of interest developing. So, yeah.
Well, Oconomowoc has a really rich history of baseball to begin with. I mean, the whole council family is from Oconomowoc, which, Craig's manager of the Brewers currently, and I'm really good friends with the family. In fact, I coach Craig's youngest son, Jack. His oldest son, he just graduated from high school, and he's playing at the university. He got a scholarship to the University of Minnesota. So, I know Craig's dad very well. He lives down in Fort Myers, Florida. But there's, they got a great Legion team, and they have for years. So, it's a baseball community, which obviously helps our business.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. When will you make a decision on a field manager?
To the public?
Oh, so you already know who you want. I guess, okay, so I guess you already have someone in mind to have someone. I guess, yeah, to the public, because you got to roll these things out over time, I imagine.
Yeah. If I had to speculate, because I know the marketing team that we hired, they'll probably have a better idea than me because of stuff does go in a certain process. But I would think in a month.
Okay. And then the process of, well, then coaches, is this, and then the biggie is, how do you find your players?
There's multiple. I'm fortunate enough to know a lot of agents throughout the country. There's a lot of kids, again, I think the year that Jared got drafted in 2018, I believe there was 38 rounds in the draft. The 2019 draft, was it 20? There was 5 rounds.
Yeah.
And that's what they're seeing now in independent ball is the big league clubs are taking all the players from indie ball because they just don't have the numbers to fill the rosters. So there is a financial gain for the independent clubs once they lose a player to affiliated baseball. But there's so many ways. Like I said, the agents first and foremost. I think this year I don't even know how many rounds they're having in the draft this year. I know last year was 10. Are they up to 20, I think, this year? But even with 20 rounds, what is that, 800 kids? At the most, 700 kids. There's a heck of a lot of players to choose from.
And with 40 fewer teams to stock also. So there's a lot of players out there. Yeah.
So, getting back to your question, I think a couple questions ago was what Major League Baseball is doing. The biggest and most successful team in the American Association was the St. Paul Saints, right? So here the Twins come in, say, we want you as our AAA affiliate, and now the league lost the biggest. So I guess I'm put in this position to take over for the St. Paul Saints and have the most successful organization in the league. But is that something that's going to happen? I'm not a betting guy, but I think that there's going to be, right now, currently, I think the term is we're a partner to MLB. If you go on the American Association website, is this something that's going to happen? Because let's face it, I think Major League Baseball looked at through COVID and said, how can we reduce our overhead? And when you look at all these affiliates that they had they had a rookie level, they had low A, they had high A, double A, triple A. They're paying a lease. They're not only paying the players, but they're paying all the staff to work there. They saved a ton of money reducing. I think they made a cut of 21 teams or 20 teams that first go around. So for them to take the position of taking over possibly down the road an American Association, where quite frankly, they're maybe paying the signing bonus to the player to draft them and sending them to an affiliated or an independent team currently, where the independent team is paying the player, paying their insurance, housing them and whatnot until they get to they're mentally and physically ready to get to the big leagues. It really omitted a lot of overhead throughout the course of anywhere from 3 to 5, 7 years. So I don't know if it's there just yet, but they kind of did it with St. Paul. And those guys do a tremendous job up there. I mean, it's incredible what they do.
Yeah. Howard, is with St. Paul becoming the AAA team, how is that affecting the Twins attendance, or is that combination working really well for people to follow their AAA ball players?
Hasn't affected attendance much. The Twins still draw over 20,000, and the Saints sold out a couple of 4th of July games, weekend games. They had 8,600 on Saturday and over 9,000 for the 4th of July fireworks night. But it's a really good match. St. Paul and Minneapolis working together as a minor league affiliate. They don't have to fly players in from Rochester, New York to come into the Twin Cities.
It's one of the reasons someone like Rorfeld could be back and forth with the Twins so quickly. Garver goes down. Can you drive across town? Can you drive over to Minneapolis and to St. Paul? So yeah, and that's what a lot of the AAA teams are a whole lot closer than they have been in the past, so that they can do those sort of things. Jared's at Tacoma, so that's a whole lot closer to Seattle. I don't know where their AAA was before that, but yeah.
Yeah, it's been there for a long time, but you're right, it's happening a lot. And even with the Brewers, if you're, when they went to Appleton with their single A team, that's so management can get over there and watch the younger kids develop. And I remember when the AAA was the Denver Zephyrs, which was a long ways to get guys in.
Yeah, and playing conditions were different from a hitting and a pitching standpoint. So yeah, that was
for sure.
Yeah. everything's going to go according to plan. Opening day comes on a day in April. What are you looking for on that date? What is, if you're, you know, if you're dreaming, have you looked ahead and saying, here's what I would, do you have a dream for that day?
Well, if you asked all my players that I coached, and sometimes I probably want that win more than the players do, which
Okay.
probably not a good thing. But I hope to see a lot of people. I hope to see a lot of people having fun. I hope for a sunny day and us to have a win. And you know, it seems like it's going to be. I mean, I remember when I built my original ballpark, and again, we didn't have much money to do and to build it. And my partner and I, we actually even hung our light poles. I mean, they're 80-foot light poles. We put it all together ourselves. We hired a crane to come take them up, put them down. You know, so this is a little different because everybody's kind of doing it for us. But I remember thinking when we were putting those light poles together, gosh, it seems like it's going to be 2 years before we're either watch kids play, make some money, and before you knew it, it was like, here we are. And I think when I saw those dugouts going in today, and if you went out there, it looks looks like a train wreck with all the dirt and equipment all over the place. But when I sit there and go, there's the dugouts, the guys are going to be walking through there, running out onto the field. I can see the grass; it's not there. You know, it ain't going to be long, but again, the outpouring of support. I think if you go on our website, you can. Again, this is a whole marketing thing. I'm not that smart, but you can put $50 down through PayPal and reserve a ticket package. Well, we haven't even listed the price of the tickets yet, and I think the last we heard it was just short of 1,000 tickets that people have reserved. So I hope that it's obviously successful, and to get back to that vision of just people enjoying themselves. And, you know, I think to not jump around, but even one of the ballparks I went to that we're doing here is we have a basketball court inside, you know, not on the field, but just off the field that'll be netted in and have lights on it. Because I guess we're thinking along the lines that the parents will come there and enjoy a game with their kids, but at the same time, the kids can go run off and play some basketball. It's netted in. From every seat in the house, you'll be able to see that area, not be concerned that someone's going to grab your kid or whatever the case may be. I just think it's going to be fun and fairly inexpensive, quite frankly. I think that we haven't posted it yet, but I believe the tickets for just a regular seat is $13. And I believe it's a first come, first serve, something along those lines. So where it gets tricky is some seats include beverage, some seats include food, and some seats include both. So again, that's why we hired a very talented GM for her to figure that out.
Yeah. Any questions on any of these folks? My mind is always reeling, so I can come up with more questions real fast. Mary, lean forward. So good.
I'm leaning forward. I'm unmuting myself.
Yeah.
So no, it's very exciting to see this team develop. So is it hard with are a lot of people vacationers during the summer? But it seems like you have a lot of community support.
We do. And I think, again, because of the lakes, we feel that a lot of their family members, whether they're from an hour away or the other side of the country, they're coming here during the summer because they want to be part of the water and whatnot. So we feel that it's a perfect time, our season, to be open and have more people come in, not just from the immediate community. So,
yeah.
And, you know, even in the uniqueness of, if you guys are really into ballpark design at all, if you look at our drawings, it's what I call a square back outfield. So that square back outfield allows us to have a full size soccer field and a full size lacrosse field. So with that, we're in the midst of finalizing a deal with a youth soccer group that'll use the field during the week, like 2.5 months before our season starts, and then 2.5 months after our season's over. And you're probably talking a couple 100,000 kids that'll be coming in there to utilize that facility and not be baseball players. We're fortunate enough that Harley Davidson is right next to us. They do big events. Obviously get a little loud at times, but everything is going to be, we're working out the finals of that too, where the concert will be inside the facility. And we have decibels that we have to stay regulated to, so it isn't just speakers out on a parking lot blaring. So it's more, we've talked about food trucks. I'm really close to the owner in the Northwoods League from the lacrosse loggers. He says, Tom, you don't believe how many weddings we have in the ballpark during the summer, which I find kind of intriguing. I think that people enjoy themselves up on the Jumbotron, especially on a moment like that. And he says, we could do 4 or 5 weddings, 2-hour cracks, boom, 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 right in a row. And it's just another form of generating revenue. And people being in a facility that they want to be in. So,
yeah, Vern Stedman with the Mallards, now president of, I think, the organization. He became a minister so he could conduct those weddings at the ballpark. And I've known Vern for a long time, and I just thought, oh, I don't know. I don't think God would like me getting married in front of you, Vern, but that was another story. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So are you going to have real grass or turf?
All turf.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's usual now.
Yeah.
So, and maybe not for a while. Would you be open to having women players? The Sonoma Stompers in California, they're unaffiliated ball. They had 3 women play a couple of years ago, not last summer because of COVID. Maybe not an immediate thought of yours, but it seems like it would be a big deal.
Yeah, I can tell you, we haven't been approached, which again, it's kind of like when I talk about my daughter's softball, right? I didn't know anything about softball. We have a uniqueness to the manager that's going to be hired. And I can't obviously say that today, but I think it's possible. I mean, I do. We're definitely going to have players from different parts of the world that'll be playing there, which I think the community would enjoy. Because again, you got to house these players, and the manager typically gets a vehicle that they have to drive because they're not from here. So yeah, I mean, I guess we had someone approach us for a pro-am women's soccer team, which again, I know nothing about soccer. 34 game schedule, 17 at home, and again, fits around our franchise. I think we're still talking to them and trying to work things out, but I'll be honest, I don't know any women baseball players. But maybe we'll get that phone call.
I know where they are. So.
Yeah. Now, do you live in California?
Pardon me? No. I know a lot of women who are involved in women's baseball. There's a Women's World Cup every 2 years. The best players are from Japan now because they have an actual women's pro league. And so there are women who play, they've played hardball for years because the World Cup has been going on since 2004. They don't get a lot of support in this country, but definitely in Australia and Canada. So yeah, there's an organization called Baseball for All. That's a woman who helps young girls playing baseball. And they do tournaments and stuff, and she might be a person to start with. But yeah, it seems like it would give you a lot of media attention, but also that they're a good ball, they're very good ball players out there.
And I think a lot of those, no different than the pro-am, whether it's men or women, they would just like someplace to call home. They're not looking for theoretically me to run their team or whatnot. And so, I mean, we would be open to anybody using the facility. So I think my email is on our website and whatnot too. So, I mean, if you have some of that information, I would be interested to see it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
There was a question that ran in and out of my mind just before Mary had her question. I'm sure it was a great question because I forgot what it was, but the question about, what are you dreaming about on opening day was not one I thought about. And I liked your answer, and I like how you said the players are all singing "I want the W." And but it ultimately came down to, are the fans having fun? And I think that's the difference with minor league baseball.
For sure.
Having been associated with the Mallards, who really do a good job in the Northwoods League, the ballpark there is fun, and it's not a great baseball town, but they McDonaldize baseball. It's where kids want to go in the summer, and so if it's a fun place, the kids will want to go, and that's how you get mom and dad there.
One of the craziest things I ever saw, we were in, I believe Jared was playing for the Mets at the time in Tennessee. And I'm sitting there watching how this is all going down. And the woman went out and she had a stake, like a steel rod, and she pounded it right into the grass. And I'm thinking, well, now what? Well, then I see them bringing out toilet seats. And they're playing horseshoes. Now we have turf, so there won't be any pounding of. But I'm thinking, now that's a creative game to play, where people will get a kick out of it, and we all see the spinning and the like that they do at Miller Park with the sausage races and whatnot. But I even thought we'll have the ability, because our netting for the fans is going to go from what I call outside of dugout to outside of dugout.
Okay.
Right. So it's further down the line to cover everybody. And again, but depending on attendance and whatnot, I mean, we could have like the dueling pianos on top of both dugouts, where each side is raising hell with the other side and singing and having fun. And like I said, the minor league venue is probably 30% baseball and 70% entertainment. And we were fortunate enough, me and my partners, we love to eat, but we don't know anything about food, restaurant preparation, ordering, staffing. So there's a company right in Oconomowoc that everybody goes there for their fish fries and prime rib sandwiches and pizzas. And so we struck a deal with him that he'll be doing all that stuff for us. And, when you talk about that opening day, that's just one huge part that we won't have to stress about. You will have some stress making sure that he does a good job, but at the end of the day, I don't have to worry about spoiled food and, it being cooked right and so on and so forth. So, been fortunate there.
Yeah, and at least one of our professional baseball teams in the state, the ballpark will be named after a brewery.
Yeah, Chris Rebholz is the owner of Wisconsin Brewing Company. Chris, I met probably 12 years ago at church. We never were close friends, but we were at a lot of different events. We knew each other has done, not only from a business perspective, but what we've done in the community and whatnot. And so when this came up, I'll tell you, we didn't even have any other idea who to go to. Chris is a hell of a guy. He's one of the ultimate entrepreneurs. And we knew if we partnered up with him, he's going to make sure that it's successful. And might not be the most money, I don't know. But what's interesting is I've had a couple different owners of teams in multiple leagues since this went public call me and say, would you be open to telling us how this worked? So hopefully we did it right. I think we did it right with the right person. And again, I think everything else will take care of itself.
To me, it sounds like the right deal because I'm becoming a beer snob, and since I can't drink that much beer anymore, I want to have a fine microbrew if I can have it. And so I think there's a lot of people who feel that way. So having a microbrewery involved in the team, to me, sounds like a winner too.
And that's right down the road from where you're from,
Yep.
Verona, Wisconsin,
Yep.
where Ben Rorvet's from.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think it's a draw for younger people. You know, they don't want to go to a minor league ballpark that just has Budweiser, whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think even with Wisconsin Brewing has their own seltzer as well, which I don't drink that, but that's for that younger generation that they would rather have that than any beer, I think. So.
Good. Yeah. So as I mentioned in emails, since I mentioned to everybody else, I want to follow the team monthly through our newsletter. I got his GM's information and just things that are happening. It'd be just a little piece. Mike Carey lives out there. He can probably take pictures, so we can do a picture thing. And so we're going to follow the team, the progress of what's going on as players are added, kind of probably look at your news release and things like that. So we're going to follow the team monthly in our newsletter. And then as we get to, I don't think we'll be there for opening day. I'm not sure I want to commit to doing an opening day just because who knows what the weather is going to be like in April. But I would like early on in the season, sometime on a Saturday, for us to come out there and hold a meeting out there and stay for the ball game. So something like before the game, meet out there somewhere, have a meeting, do whatever, and then go to the ball game. So that's something we'll be looking at for next spring.
And hopefully it'll be against the Milwaukee Milkmen if you're in the same division.
Well, and for the record, typically the league starts about the second week of May. So when I talked about having it open in April, it was giving us anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks in a perfect world to get all the kinks out, whether it was audio or video or hell, I'm just making sure that the bathrooms work, everything that goes into it. We got to make sure it all works.
Yeah.
How many games could you say you play? 100?
100 games, yeah. Yeah. 50 home games and 50 away games.
Neat. It's I'm looking forward to that. Just I've only been to one game so far this year. I actually to a game when the Brewers are here in Phoenix. 8,800 people in that big stadium. They're playing so poorly, no one's showing up, and it was pretty quiet in there. But yeah, getting back into a ball game and sitting in a ballpark again, I'm really looking forward to having some time to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Yeah. Has Jared made any comments about as the crowds grow, how that's changing? Because teams are starting to let more and more people, as he mentioned, it seems more normal. Or is he making any comments along that line?
Well, I think like what Howard indicated in particular over the 4th of July weekend, trying to remember where I think they were home, and there was close to 10,000. Mm-hmm. So. And that gets the players excited. I mean, at the end of the day, they obviously want to win. The paycheck's going to be the same whether they win or lose. So it's no different than the fans. If the fans are having fun, the players are having fun. And if there's no fans there, it's not as fun for the players.
Yeah.
So
I can see that. Anybody have another question for Tom?
Hey, by any chance, do you know Brad Woodall from
I do
Madison?
know Brad. I do.
Yeah.
I know Brad very well.
He's a good guy.
Yes, he is. He owns the Silver Sluggers.
Silver Sluggers, yeah.
And
I thought you might have crossed paths. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I met Brad I think when Jared was in 7th grade, I knew about Brad and his big league experience, and he was running the Silver Sluggers, believe it or not, on a field down in Kenosha, the Kenosha Tremper High School. And Jared was in 7th grade, and I think he had sophomores. And I got recommended to go to take Jared down there, and so I introduced myself, and he's like, these are 16-year-old kids, not 13. And I'm like, well, give him a shot, let him play. But once you know it, he got beamed 3 times in a row and got hit in the butt every time. And so if you know Brad, you could say something like, yeah, Kelenic remembers when Jared got beamed 3 times in the butt, and he will start laughing. So part of the development, I guess. So yeah, super nice guy.
Yeah, he was Chipper Jones roomie, so he has good Chipper Jones stories.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll have to do more in Madison, Dennis. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to move around. We are the Badger State chapter, so we have to do more visiting and doing things. I know that Randy and I've already talked a little about that. Some emails, but I agree. And traveling to see ball games is I can't think of a better thing to do. You can go see a ball game someplace. So I agree. Tom, I appreciate your time. We said 90 minutes. We're just about there. Last words of wisdom. Anything you would like us to know about what you're doing, your hopes and dreams, your ball club?
At the end of the day, with the development that we have in place, and again, this is just another opportunity. We would be foolish not to take Wisconsin kids, even at this pro level. And it's just more about opportunity. I mean, that's what our lives are about, is trying to open as many doors as we can and possibly helping as many people as we can in the process. And hell, I've been fortunate. I mean, people think that what we've built, there's no question it was for the community, but all of my kids have become better people using our facilities. So I know we struggle at times with what happens at home. Not in my home, but homes in general. So if these kids even have outlets to go and perform and get better, it's a win-win. I mean, that's opportunity and being successful. So we're happy to be doing that.
And I think it would be wonderful if Wisconsin got the reputation for being a baseball state also. We're known for football. It'd be wonderful to know we're known for baseball.
We will be.
Yeah. We're getting there.
The first thing that you need is the Badgers to have a men's baseball team again.
Well, it's funny you say that, because now his name slips my mind, but he's been running what do they call it? It's the kids play for that team, but they're like not a rec team, but
intramural team or something like
that.
No, I know what you're thinking of, the place out in Fitchburg.
Yeah. And,
yeah.
He
used to play minor league ball. What the hell is his name?
I maybe have his
I can't think of it at the moment.
Well, anyway, I reached out to him before Barry gave his notice that he's going to be retiring. And I said to him, listen, when this is built, why don't you guys come to our facility and play there for free? Because in my eyes, again, before Barry decided to step down, it would put a lot of pressure on the school and the administration, is if this club, because it is followed quite heavily, even though it's not affiliated with the Big Ten, having them leave that community to go play at the newest facility in the state of Wisconsin, I think they would scratch their heads and be like, why is this happening? So I was willing to do it for free, to let those kids play on us. And
I mean, I understand it's a Title IX thing, but for Christ's sake, add in 25 men's baseball players and get 25 more women's
Yeah.
scholarships.
Right.
Take a little money away from football.
Right. Well, and I'm sure there's multiple ways to do it, but at the end of the day, I've been in some meetings. I know some people that have been in some of those communications, and it was a non-starter for the whole term of Barry Alvarez. And Chris is from Pewaukee. My brother actually wrestled against him in high school. And I can assure you that Chris isn't going to go, we're going to start a baseball team. I think he's been coached extremely well. And I think that possibilities is very slim. So, maybe in my lifetime, we'll figure it out. Like I said, we have currently 60 to 80 kids that leave the state of Wisconsin and go play for another team or another state.
Yeah.
It's a shame, but
I think
it is what it is.
5 or 6 D1 schools have dropped baseball in the last 5 years. It's the money. It's all about money, and baseball isn't the revenue sport. And then ties in the Title IX a little bit. A lot of it's just money, and unfortunately, money does make the world go around a little too much sometimes.
Agree.
Yeah.
Well, they call football the
Uniforms and
revenue sport,
aluminum
but all the money
bats
goes.
and
I'm sorry.
gloves, so isn't that much money?
Yeah. No, I agree. Tom, I greatly appreciate this. I'm looking forward to following your progress with everything you're working on and meeting you in person at a ball game next spring. So
Look forward to it.
thank you
Nice
very
meeting
much.
you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your time. It was
No
interesting.
problem.